Okay, I think it's time to start. Thank you for your comment.
Okay, shall I begin?
Sorry, I hear me twice. It means that our translation on YouTube is also on. It's great. Yes, dear all, please switch on your cameras because it's very nice for a speaker to see people, not just their names. So we can start now. Please, if you have any questions, write them in chat, and after our lecture, we can just answer them, I think. And I'm glad to give a word to Ekaterina Dokukina. I think she'll tell us a lot of interesting facts and give us new knowledge about clinical trials. Ekaterina, thank you very much for coming. Let's go.
Lovely, thank you very much, Anastasia. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, I would say it's something new for me to introduce clinical trials in English because I used to do it in Russian many times. However, I do have a very good experience in presenting some data in English, and very thankful for the team to invite me. I would like to just tell a bit about my experience for you to understand why I'm here and why I'm presenting this data. And just to say in general that my experience started as a professional, as a medical doctor, as a general practitioner in 2006 when I graduated my medical university in St. Petersburg. Then I had an experience in science. I was writing a dissertation in cardiovascular disease using an animal model in King's College London. Then I joined the pharmaceutical company and actually started as a assistant, as a CRA, as a PM. Then I grew up as a manager, and it was the beginning of a big career in the pharmaceutical business, in the pharmaceutical field. And I've learned a completely different world for me, having a medical and science experience. And I was holding the executive managing positions, and also had I would say, a very great experience as a lecturer at the St. Petersburg Pharmaceutical University and Sirius. It is located in Sochi. And I would like you to tell just a bit about the drug development, how it goes, why it's taking so long. One molecule can take up to 15 years. Why it's so difficult, why the procedure is super complex, and why it costs so much money. And first of all, many scientists, and I was also working for this kind of activity at during my thesis dissertation preparation. They are working on the target selection, and actually the target can be one, and it is quite well known what kind of target can be used as a potential disease or potential treatment. And if the target is known, then the process goes to the lead discovery. And the actually lead discovery, don't confuse with the steel element lead. It's the actual drug discovery in chemical compound, and it's got its pharmaceutical and biological activity likely to be therapeutically used. So basically, they researchers, they're trying to find what kind of drug in future it will be and how it will be looking like. Either it's going to be a solution or tablets or powder or whatever, how the drug will be done. And here you can see that the duration of the lead discovery may take many years, and the candidates can be up to 10,000. And then if the lead discovery is successful, then the successful candidates as a future candidates for the drug will go for the medical chemistry and in vivo studies. And this, I would say, stage may take quite long, and there are some companies who are doing it as an outsource all over the world. And actually, at this stage, lots of other not, I would say, healthy candidates just withdrawn from the line to go forward. And only few candidates, molecules that are, I would say, mainly successful, that shown very good physical and chemical proportion and good quality in its producing of good potential, it goes for in vivo studies. A bit later, I will tell you just the difference, how in vivo studies, preclinical, are done. And the last stage is clinical trials. Before, it's the manufacturing and producing to all the pharmacists and medical centers. So basically, if we talk about actual activities, just to brief introduction, how does it work? I would say, and I would like to point out that preclinical and preclinical and discovery stage, all these kind of activities are going quite long in order to prepare for the IND application. IND application, this is the investigational new drug. So this is, or CTA approval is the clinical trial approval. So basically, they are preparing the dossier, which contains of I would say a certain number of documents that should be shown safety and probably the number of previous experiments that were showing in preclinical study, the CMC part, that the molecule is stable, and then it goes to the phase 1, phase 2, 3, 4, and then we will talk about this later. And when all the stages are gone, the pharmaceutical company is preparing the clinical trial dossier application for the Ministry of Health. Here I just give you an example of FDA approval. It's American, US, but in our case, it's the Ministry of Health. And then company receives the approval, license to sell and to admit to patients in wise use. If you talk about preclinical trials, so basically they are used in two different models, in vitro and in vivo tests. How to choose the animal model and how to what kind of experiments should be done with animals, it is very related to the structure of the drug. I won't be focusing on this now, but I want just to show you how basically preclinical trials are done. Just to remember, I know it's a preclinical trial and you can see the human, but this is just to recall what the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics means, and what are the consequential steps are done in animals. I would say almost same, are done with humans. But also in animals, they are testing for PK, pharmacokinetics, and pharmacodynamics. And they are tested for distribution, metabolism of the drug, absorption, and excretion. And this is the basic experiments that should be held in animals. I would say mice. I think it's easier for everyone to understand. And then also pharmaceutical companies have to show some other testing and some experiments that are mainly used just to show the safety activities of some drug. And if you can divide it in basically two different types of safety assessment, is the toxicology testing and cardiogenicity. In toxicology, there are two different types of, I would say, timelines for the animal. And actually, it can be a single dose, oral or dermal or inhalation study. It can be a local tolerance study, can be skin and occur irritation. And actually, it's mainly, I can say they are focusing on acute, subchronic, and chronic toxicity studies. These information are prepared for the dossier to submit for the clinical trial approval. And also for some activities, some drugs are used subacute toxical studies, subchronic and chronic toxical study. And here you can see the duration of the experiment can be long, up to 180 days. But of course, these are the main, I would say, experiments that should be done prior submitting all the clinical trial dossier to use it in human. But also cancerogenicity studies also must be performed, and it shows any long-term cancerogenic effect or toxic effect, which is caused by illness. And just to conclude, preclinical trials, actually, it's a very sensitive topic in terms of Greenpeace activities and choosing the model of the animal and how ethical it is good or bad to use animals, what kind of genetically modified animal to use. Either it's going to be a gene knockout model or it's gene overexpress model. It's another culture of scientists who are taking care of the preclinical studies. And also in some countries, you have to pass the special exam to do the experiment, even just to hold the animal in your hand. You have to pass the exam because there are some special procedures of taking care of the animal, because nowadays the society and people are speaking about respectful and safe experiments on animals. And just to understand, when the preclinical trials are done, we go for the clinical trial phases. Shortly, I can tell you that phase 1, easy to say, is it safe? Is it safe in healthy volunteers, or if the drug is not ethically well known and is not ethically good to give to the healthy volunteers, like for instance chemotherapy. You won't give chemotherapy for a healthy person. Then also it can be used in as an exception for the phase 1. It can be used with patient itself. But main question, is it safe? The first phase. Then second phase, we are taking all the protocol and the drug development strategy is taking patients with precise disease, and it says, is there any effect? We have to understand as a scientist whether the dose is okay, is the dose is therapeutically proven. Then the third phase is quite big and much more effective regarding the statistical analysis. And we are saying, is there any advantage to a new treatment over the standard treatment? And the last phase is basically just to understand whether it's routine regime, how patients are using, and doctors are prescribing. And as I told you, phase 1, it applied and complied to the question, is it safe? First of all, we have to remember this is the first use in humans. There are specific like in preclinical trials, it's a different world, and phase 1 is different world actually, because there is so many specific standard operation procedures in how to conduct those clinical trials. All over the world, there are several early phase unit. It's the special places how they are performing the PK and PD trials, because mainly it is studied in 100 or 50 volunteers, healthy volunteers. And of course, it's the best way to conduct this clinical trial is to make it a group of 20 or 30 patients dosing, if the protocol allows, of course. And actually the duration is up to 6 months, but nowadays I would say those protocols can be prolonged up to 1 year. It also depended on the drug. And there are special requirements. As I said, it's a different world. There should be hospitalization, this is for sure, then increased control of monitoring, and of course the healthy volunteer participation, and they are applied to a special law, and they must be paid. It's a different attitude to those patients, but in more deep understanding, you can just have a GCP course, and if it is interested for you and for your friends, colleagues, it's can be learned more deeply later. The phase 2, if the phase 1 is successful, is okay, we go for the phase 2. We take patients, as I said, and we actually, as a scientist, we take much more patients with specific disease, with some short exclusion and inclusion and exclusion criteria. It should be safety and efficacy must be evaluated, and the main is determination of the dosing regime. So basically, what the scientists have to find is what is the dose is therapeutical, safe, and ethical. Then if the dose is done, it's working fine. Statistical analysis shows that it reached its aim. Then the phase 3 is applied. Phase 3, I said here the number of participants from 100 to 1,000 or thousands. Actually, some clinical trials I've seen, phase 3 included 50,000 patients, and it's of course it's a big MRCT, multi-regional, multi-central, multi-countries clinical trials where lots of medical centers and countries are participating. But the main idea of that trial is just to show if the drug is working perfect to compare to the standard therapy. And special regime, I would say, requirements for that clinical trial is must be multi-central, should be randomized. We'll talk about the randomization a bit later. Should be double blind. This is I would say this is the best, not obligatory, but it should be I would say the choice of preference if there is a possibility to do the double-blind study, and it should be controlled. And phase 4 is can be initiated, can be not. It's not mandatory, but it's a good way of introducing the drug for more patients, more medical doctors, and to collect more information. However, if, for instance, there is a drug and there is a application, we are saying that this drug was marketed for one disease. If the pharmaceutical company want to go for the to add in a more diseases into the its application, they may go via phase 4. It's the phase is going via the MOH approval, and it can be also used as research of the new indications. For you as for medical students, and I believe that someone is medical doctors are watching. This is just to show what is the difference between bioequivalence and biosimilarity study. Some doctors are saying that some biological biosimilars are generics, and some generics are biosimilar. And I would like you to just point it out that generic is the pharmaceutical drug that contains the same chemical substance, and biosimilar is the same, but it is biological medical product. So the difference is easy. There is an original drug. It can be made by chemical compound or by biological. Chemical, as I said, it can be non-steroid anti-inflammatory drug, can be antibiotics, metformin. This is just an example, and you can see different manufacturing companies that are doing with same international non-patent name. They are doing the same drug with different name, and then there will be generics. But if we talk about biosimilar, it's much more complex and difficult and long procedure to produce those kind of drugs. Therefore, the difference between application for bioequivalence and biosimilarity study is different. And of course, if some company wants to have the generic, it can be only if it is generic in tablet, then only one one trial can be used before the registration. It's in healthy volunteers. However, if there is a biosimilarity study in biological product, only phase 1 and phase 3 are introduced. So there is a difference. So it's good that people understand and may use that language more, I would say, wiser and more professional. And if we talk about just clinical trial in general, I would say this is just the main goal of that is to, first of all, study safety, study efficacy in humans. And the main goal is to demonstrate whether the risk and benefit ratio observed during the preclinical studies is supported by clinical trials. And I believe that you had the session before about the trial design, so I wouldn't here stop on that quite specifically. However, I want to show you that this is not just my words or someone's words. There is a document you can find. It is called ICH GCP. In our country, there is another document. This is just not translated. It is well prepared document, надлежащая клиническая практика, that you can see many similar approach that is used in ICA GCP. We will talk about this later. But the sponsor is the pharmaceutical company, or it can be a human. They should utilize qualified individuals. So it cannot be just a boy from the street coming saying, I'm very happy, to earn some money, additional money. I want to be part of clinical trial and prepare the clinical trial protocol or whatever. So it should be a very, very well qualified individuals such as pharmacologists and medical doctors, biostatistician, medical writers, and etc. And they should know how the principles of the clinical trials are working. Although there is no specific education, but the basic education should be for medical doctors, medical university, for pharmacologist, or who is taking care of that is the pharmacological university, statistician, math, and etc. And if we look at the document, the ITA GCP, it states that the trial design must contain the minimum criteria that it should be applied for the document. It should have the primary endpoint and the secondary endpoint. How to say it easily? Endpoint is when the medical advisor is preparing the document, at least he has to say on what time and what kind of criteria should apply that this drug is safe and it's and it shows its efficacy. For instance, patients with cancer, before entering the study, they had I don't know, maybe 10, 15 lesions in the body, and they are eligible for the study. And the tumor quantity is also enough, and it's quite simple, say big, right? And then we say that the primary endpoint for this patient will be in 12 weeks, and we are comparing same parameter, the amount of tumor and the number of lesions, metastases, and comparing with the day 0 or day 1 in 12 weeks. there should be at least decrease, can be dramatic decrease or slight decrease, but it should be decrease. And if the statistical analysis shows there is a decrease in 30, 40, 50%, then the trial design reach the primary endpoint. I'm not going to say about secondary endpoints. They are also needed, and actually it also depends on the disease, on the length of lots of other parameters. But the trial should be at least double-blind or placebo-control. In cancer study, placebo control is not very ethical to use, but it depends. It depends on the drug and the stage itself. But of course, study must avoid bias. Bias is something that can be caused by some individual attitude of medical doctors and patients, and it should be randomization. I believe you know what does it mean, stratification and blinding. This is for sure, and it stays in ITA GCP. And of course, it should be it should stay how the patients will be. What is the duration of the study participation, how it will be used, the follow-up, or it won't be used, and it should be stressed that there is some stopping rules, or how the patient can withdraw from the clinical trial, or discontinue criteria. And also it should be procedures for the investigational product, including the placebo or comparison. This is just an example. What is the inclusion and exclusion criteria? So basically, this is the first parameter when sub-investigator or principal investigator opens the clinical trial protocol. It looks like is it okay? Am I gonna include patients into the trial? So he goes via the inclusion criteria that disease is, I don't know, like back pain, head pain, but it can be back pain in some posture that you will never see in your life, and you will say like, I won't find those patients because they don't exist, and then inclusion criteria should be modified, of course. But mainly, of course, the trial design should be done and designed like it is. I call it doable. It cannot be some fairy tale from some companies. It should be doable, should be reliable, and should be done by all parties, not only pharmaceutical companies, and also by medical doctors. And of course, there should be described some withdrawal criteria, and it should be just saying that what is happening with if the patient say no, I don't want to participate, or something happened to the patient during the study. So the protocol should state what is going to be with the data that was collected during the study. Whether it should be replacement just to reach the statistical analysis, and how does the data and the patient should be treated for this clinical trial. This is just a basic example of randomization, and basically it can be done by system. There is a IWRS system, can be voice randomization. It can be special unique system from the pharmaceutical companies. But basically, when the patient signs the informed consent, and it goes via all the screening period before subscribing the patient to the trial. The responsible investigator must proceed via the randomization example. He doesn't know how to do it. No one knows. Only the system knows how to do it. And then the patient receives either pill 1 or pill 2. And of course, blinded method, as I told you. I didn't put the picture, my favorite picture when cat was blinded with closed eyes, and doctor and patient, everyone was blind. No one knew that what kind of drug they are receiving. But basically, this method is used just to avoid the bias. There is 2 different types, simple and double blind, when neither the subject or monitor or investigator knows what kind of drug they receive. And simple blind is whether only a subject doesn't know, but mainly is not very popular methods of blind. Usually is used double blind method. When we talk about itself in general, who are those people who can be in this field, in this area? Who are they? Well, as you've heard me, I was talking about sponsor. Sponsor, it's like a name in the ICA-GCP. I would say it's easy. Who is responsible for everything, for the safety, and who is paying for everything? It's like a sponsor. Then we, on the other hand, we have the investigator as the medical side, who is responsible for the safety application and the protocol requirements, commitment, and all the procedures and steps for applying the protocol. Then we have the CRA, the person who is assigned by sponsor. It can be in CRO, it can be in sponsor itself, but this person, it's somewhere in between between sponsor and investigator. CRA sees some personal data at the site, but doesn't transfer this data to sponsor, and opposite side. Then we have local EC committee. It's the independent ethic committee, and we have Ministry of Health, MOH. And basically, just to sum up about sponsor investigator, sponsor can be a company, can be an individual person, it can be organization who is responsible and managing and financing the clinical trial. An investigator is the person, is the medical employee who is responsible for the conduction of clinical trials. And there is a difference between principal and sub-investigator. If the trial can be conducted without sub-investigator, but without principal, it cannot. And the principal investigator, someone is saying main investigator, but it's not right. They are calling PI shortly. Everyone wants to be PI. It's super cool, super good to be PI, because you are in charge of protocols. You can be representative for the sponsors. You can be part of publications, but mainly it's the person who is responsible for everything. And if something happened, then he has to be responsible for what is happening. And sub-investigator is the team member who was put by principal investigator to conduct the trial, and has got some designation in it is designation document. But if we're talking about the clinical research coordinator, these kind of, I would say, angels in simple way, because if one team or principal investigator has the very experienced and well organized CRC, then the trial is safe and the PI can be not relaxed, but can rely on the very good CRC, because he knows the procedures, he knows how to organize the document, the management of the investigational product, and actually it's a very good shoulder at the clinical trial. And the CRO, I said, when we were talking about the parties of that clinical trials, and as I said, the monitor can be how you say it, can be represented either from the sponsor or CRO. CRO, it's a contract research organization, and mainly they are focusing on organizing the clinical trial. They can have different outsourcing procedures, but they are mainly representative of the sponsor if the sponsor cannot do it itself. And here I just wanted you to just to show how many Ministry of Health, what is the regulatory authority is or authorities exist in all over the world. And main is in our country is Ministry of Health, it's FDA, CFDA, Chinese Food and Drug Administration, it can be DCGI, Anvisa. So these are the main MOH regulatory authorities all over the world. And also based on that trial and ICH, there are independent ethics committee, institutional review boards. They are mainly focusing on ethics. So I don't know if it is favorite or not favorite topic, but actually to know about clinical trials, we have to know the history. And history of some incidents that happened a long time ago, and why, just to understand why these consequences they led to a clinical trial ICH-GCP documents. One is quite well known, is the sulfanilamide incident that happened in 1937. That was the medicine for treatment of just simple tonsillitis. But that was the, I think it was tablets and powder, and the company just decided, to make it well sell drug, make it syrup and with good taste and soluble. But actually the pharmacist, the Watkin, he did that syrup, he did it, and he that substance was soluble in diethyl glycol, and he didn't conduct any preclinical studies prior having that new way of drug implementation. And they did a new drug, I would say investigational new drug, within 63 liters, and within few months more than 100 people died. And of course it was a big tragedy, and people were super complaining about this kind of activities that they were doing. Another quite well-known tragedy was named by, and it is named by thalidomide, and actually it was used just for curing the insomnia in the latest 15. And actually, it's a very interesting story that the owner of pharmaceutical company, or not the owner, I think one of the executive manager, just at the beginning when they were introducing this drug to pregnant women, it was his wife that he was using this first, and there was a super good day for him, that his baby was born, but he understood that the baby was born without nose and without ears. And within 50 years after when they introduced that thalidomide to pregnant women, more than 12,000 kids were born in major, severe injuries. And I can tell that it was a super big strategy, because they were selling it almost all over the world. You can find it everywhere, all the pictures on with kids. And I don't want to really stay quite long with this history, because as I said, it can be interesting, but also it is very sad. And then there was, after the Second World War, after all these strategies, there was a Nuremberg Code of ethic-based, when they're saying that participation in the clinical trial should be voluntary, and lots of other main important, I would say, rights and needs of the clinical trial is written in that code, that risks and the benefits should be in a good proportion. And of course, the patient should sign the ICF. Another one. This is very sad, actually, story. You know, I was preparing for this day today, and I was reading again, because some data is forgetting. But actually, just the Tuskegee experiment, it was held in poor African Black people in the US. So as long as their rights were, I would say, broken completely, and they had no rights. So there was I wouldn't say it's a super clinical trial, but it was an experiment. They took about 400 patients with syphilis. Some of them, they were given a drug, and for some of them, they were not given a drug, but they were saying that they were giving. And more than 100 died from syphilis. Can you imagine nowadays people will die because of the syphilis? And this experiment was long, for 40 years. And just the basic penicillin was introduced in latest years, and people were still dying with that experiment, because they were very vulnerable patients, and no one was taking care of them. And of course, when the government, US government, realized, and they found out this issue that happened, even the president of the US apologized, but it was just a word, I would say. Then it's up to you to decide how ethically it is good or not. In 2006, it's actually the newest history of the strategy. The more information you can find on our Telegram and Instagram Let's Trial. But here, just to say, it happened in. Actually, it's a good drug, very good monoclonal antibody. They are using it still. I don't remember what kind of indication, but the reason is that it was happening actually in the UK, one of the super well-equipped hospitals with bright doctors. And there was a sentinel dose. Healthy volunteers subscribed to the study, and they were given that monoclonal antibody. But the issue was the interval between the dose was too little, and they should have give the drug to the first and wait at least for 1 day. But they were given first, second, and third, and they found out that necrosis started. There was a super pain, super adverse events that they were occurring during the treatment, and they had to stop that infusion, and the first healthy volunteer suffered, and he has I think still has no some fingers due to necrosis of small blood vessels. And of course, you can find very good book from the Peter Goethe. He is not my hero, but he found out all the strategies that happen in clinical trials and with medicine, but also in our Let's Trial channels and that we are doing. So basically, GCP is the international ethical and scientific quality standard for designing, conducting, reporting, recording, everything what is going on with humans. And just to understand what is it, like people are saying, I say GCP, but no one, not no one. Some people don't understand what it stands for. So basically, it's International Council on Harmonization of Technical Requirements. And in some countries, ICAGCP is the regulational document. So it's like a law. And the history starts from 1989. They had been preparing the documents, this document for 10 years when the first version of the ICAGCP introduced. But mainly they used for US, European countries, Australia, Canada, and some countries were adding, they were joining these international standards. If you look at the just Google ICAGCP, you will find that the website where the ICH guidelines were mainly stand for safety, efficacy, quality, and other multidisciplinary guidelines that were using for coding, medical technology, and some other common technical documents that are used in clinical trial. The EC is a good clinical E6. Sorry, it's the another point of efficacy of guideline. Just they're modifying it quite often, and you can download this document easy if you really need. So basically, main goal is that saying that data is reliable, and also the rights of the safety, well-being of the subjects must be protected. And how it is protected? Only by signing the informed consent form. There are some principles of the ICAGCP. Why I point them out? I don't want to read them, all of them. This is just for you to understand that there are so many main principles that it should be benefits and risk. You can hear me quite often saying this because it's very important. They should be non-clinical and clinical, should be research. It should be detailed protocol. It should be local ET approval. Without that approval, the trial cannot be conducted. The main participants, main medical doctors, they should have a special qualification. They should have a special training, like they should know everything by by its qualification. And of course, the consent should be given freely. No one can force you. And they're saying about some vulnerable patients that cannot be participated in the clinical trials or with special requirements and regime. Also, they are saying that the product, the drug, should be applicable with GMP. GMP is the good manufacturing practice. Actually, this is the quality management procedure for the manufacturing sites. The drug cannot be just done and produced and given to the person and to the patients without that GMP requirements. So it should be stable and it should be safe, at least the quality of the chemical substance. And just a brief information about independent ethics committee. As I said, this is the group of people, maybe how to easy to explain. They are calling in the ICAGCP as an institutional review board or independent ethics committee. Depending on the country, they have different requirements, but just for understanding, the approval of the documents is coming from that authorities, and they're saying rights, safety, well-being, what is happening to the subjects, no matter if it is healthy volunteer or the patients. As I said, they are looking for the special attention with vulnerable subjects if they do exist and if something happens. And of course, they are looking not just by the email, or they can, but the group of list of documents should also include the clinical trial protocol. They are looking for that document, the investigational brochure, the written informed consent form. It should be any of the written information that are given to the patient, CV of the PI, any information if the patient will be paid by the company or by any other company. So all these kind of documents should be seen by the local EC authority. And this is minimum criteria for, and this is not obligation, is the recommendation by these documents. It should be at least 5 members, at least 1 member, those primary area of interest is not scientific area. It can be a lawyer, can be a priest, or can be I don't know, someone who is cleaning the floor. At least 1 member who is independent from this institutional trial site. So it can be a lawyer from other I don't know, other company, and he just be participating and seeing if it is ethically okay to do that experiment on humans. And a sponsor, poor sponsor, honestly, I'm always saying, but he is not actually poor. They are super rich if they invest in money into the very good molecules. But of course, they have lots of procedures that should be done. Everything should be logically, everything should be proven, everything should be according to standard operation procedures. Therefore, all these, sometimes people are, when they're working for the sponsor, they just don't really understand why everything is so complicated. But this is due to written basic why everything it should be applied for conducting the clinical trial and also manufacturing the drug. Well, sponsors should hire the sites, medical sites, by the signing the document, by the signing the contract. This is the document when they are just proven and showing that everything is legible. As I said, quality control is one of the important topic that are looking for all the authorities, the MOH or all the inspection, GCP or GMP, everything what they start is they are asking how your quality control and quality assurance is implemented in your company. And of course, all the documents should be signed, should be implemented by the sponsor. Investigator, this person or group of people should have qualification and some agreements. First of all, they should be qualified by education. They cannot be, I don't know, cannot be medical nurse. It should be medical doctor. Medical doctor should have a special additional training, special additional certification, like general practitioner cannot conduct, being principal investigator in the trial of with oncological patients. It may have be part of the trial if they need a ECG or if he is eligible for doing it, but mainly he won't be most probably eligible for this trial. So education, training, and experience. In our country, we have 3 years at least as a sub-investigator to become a principal investigator. And of course, they should say CV, it should be up to date. Up to date is up to today, if someone is asking for your CV. Of course, he has to learn and has to be familiar with the protocol. He has to be familiar with the investigator brochure. It's super important. And the investigator should also have the GCP certificate for conducting clinical trials. Informed consent. This is just, you know, this is my favorite question. My ex-boss was actually asking all the time, what does it mean, informed consent? And I used to reply, it's a document. And he was not very happy at the beginning to hear that I was committing a mistake, but I still remember till the end, and I was teaching my ex-colleagues as well that informed consent is the process of communication with patient and doctor. It may take few days, it may take few weeks, it may take 1 hour or 5 minutes, but it should be enough for the patient to be aware what kind of procedures and what are the risks and benefits will happen during the study. And in the end, they are writing 2 versions of the documents of that list. Maybe this picture is not the best, but I found out the article from the one American doctor about the patient communication with medical doctors, and all questions that are happening, they should be written in the source documentation. But basic elements actually of the consent is the capacity, is the disclosure, and voluntaries. This is the main and the basic element of the consent within the clinical trial. Investigator brochure. Some people don't really understand what is this document. Just for brief understand, there is a quite long section in the ICH GCP. I don't think that you need to focus in on this kind of main basic stuff, but everything what you need to understand that this is non-clinical studies introduction, everything what the investigator needs to know, what happened before this clinical trial. If there was a safety data with patients that happened prior to this clinical trial, phase 1, phase 3, it should be there. It should be physical, chemical, pharmaceutical properties, and the formulation. If we talk about investigational product, mainly short, they call it IP. IP is one of my favorite topic actually, because it's another different world, how to maintain the investigational product. But basically, for you to understand, the basic stuff is this is either the pharmaceutical form of an active ingredient or placebo, or it can be a reference. So if people in the clinical trial are talking about investigational product, they are mainly talk about what kind of drug is used for treating this exactly disease in this clinical trial. I'm just giving you some examples how they may come to the side, to the medical side. Some of them are having a QR code or other codes. They are related to some systems. Some of them they have specific prescribed by the patient already, by the number of the patient. Now it can be come by injections or solution or tablets or any of the methods are used. Of course, there are a specific way of looking and taking care of the investigational product within the trial. So many documents are used by the sponsor or the CRO just to make sure that the drug, enough the quantity, debit and credit, enough quantity of the drug was sent to the medical site, and enough drug based on the protocol and the prescription was given to the patient. And for that, you can see there is a dispensing and dispensing log by the site and by the patient. And also there should be temperature control used within the whole clinical trial. And of course it should be the label. Label is quite important. It should be said that it's for clinical trial, and it should contain the minimum information that is law, saying what is the international non-patent name, what is the dosage, how to keep that drug, and of course should be the producer, sponsor name and address, and etc. Some other documents that or information that it should be done by law, or additional design by sponsor should be used on the label, on the primary label, secondary label, and whatever. And the procedure of and it's quite expensive, I can tell you, to monitor every single dispatch, to show the quality control and the quality assurance of the storage of the document, depot, the training employees, all the training study nurse, and how the patient should be used, and everything. The best, of course, to control everything online. Some companies that do it, and it's super convenient for the organizer who is responsible for the drug, that everything is well known and can be seen online what is happening if. And talking about safety, you know, the drug is dispensed, everything is looking good. But I want to also stop on the adverse event. It's another complicated. It's quite complicated area in the clinical trials because some still hardly understand how to define the if it is event, if it is reaction, whether it can be serious or can be suspected, unexpected. So basically, for understanding adverse event has any untoward medical occurrence. It may happen and may have not. Serious adverse event have different types of criteria. In the ICH-GCP, it says 5. In Russian, I think it's 6. They added maybe the ICH it also added. Need to check, but basically not all the adverse events can be a serious adverse event. It may happen that the patient was hospitalized. It will be a serious adverse event, but also the serious adverse event or adverse event can be designed as a suspected unexpected serious adverse reaction, which is this reaction have never been known before, or it was described in the investigational brochure. And as I told you, there are several ways of understanding and dividing the serious adverse event. It can be death, can be life-threatening, can be hospitalization, can be birth defect, as we've heard with that strategy. And of course, we understand that if the patient is taking the drug, it should be desired effect and undesired effect. Desired effect that we cure that disease. Undesired, this is the adverse event. And adverse reaction and adverse events. It happens from either single dose or prolonged administration of during the clinical trial, or it can be also the combination of 2 or more drugs. But reaction is always related to the administration medical product, and adverse event not always related. So this is, I would say, the main point that we should remember from this lecture. Source documentation. Can be electronical, can be paper. With electronical, there are so many guidelines. Nowadays, medical sites and hospitals are changing and swapping to the electronical source documentation. But I would say this is just a basic primary medical data which is collected by the investigator from the patient. It can be X-ray, it can be source document history disease, it can be analysis and all other documents which is used, like CT scan, MRI, image, everything is used from the patient. But source document, this is just a paper that is used by many hospitals all over the world. And there should be a special criteria which is used for source documentation. Source documentation should be legible, should be original, of course, should be complete, cannot be just a few data collected from the patient. Should be consistent, should be available, should be enduring, I think I told you, and should be contemporaneous. This is the basic criteria which is used for the source documentation. And just to understand the budgeting in clinical trials, it's super interesting and super complicated topic. But just to have a look at the budgeting oversight. Oversight as a sponsor, like I'm the sponsor. I want to understand how much it will take for me to conduct some clinical trial. So I have to think as a sponsor how much money I'm gonna keep for investigational product, because I have to purchase, I have to purchase it, I have to take care of the logistic. I need to understand what is the project manager management cost, because we need people. What is the monitoring, and including and excluding all the traveling towards the site and being in the same city. It should be pharmacovigilance, and basically all these big oversight main expenses are used for budgeting the clinical trial. This is, I'm giving you an example how the main expenses are introduced by one CRO, or it can be sponsored. So everything what is related is that main expenses are used for main activities, and they are almost the same in every single countries. However, if you go a bit one step down towards the medical side, there you can see how the clinical trial protocol was digitalized, I would say. So all the procedures cost some money. There is a number of procedures. There is a price per the department which is responsible for that part, and the hospital for payments. And of course, it's easy, you know, to well, I would say it's easy when you have everything prepared, and you are considering everything in your head and the protocol. But I would say this is not easy at the beginning to create that kind of Excel sheet. And it helps a lot to understand how much it will cost at the site. And this is also the part of the budget per clinical trial. And it also helps to budget and to take care of the invoices in future. And to conclude, I would like to just say that clinical trials is a new world. People are spending whole of their life in conducting and working from different sites, and you just need to understand what is closer to you if you really want to be part of clinical trials. But it's for some of them it's a lifestyle, for some of them it's a part-time job, it can be full-time job. It may be decided by every single individual. But as Sergei Botkin said, that an experiment on a person is possible only when exceptional cases, when we truly believe in its hardness. So I think I'm done with time also. If you have any questions, let's just discuss.
Katya, thank you very much. I think, guys, we have just a few minutes for your questions, and I just will ask one from YouTube translation. It is about, tell please, in what cases clinical studies are not possible? Maybe it is very widespread question, I don't know, but what can we answer?
Well, clinical trials are not possible. Well, if you talk about safety, then we understand the preclinical trials super harmful, and all the animals are dying or are not reaching some point, and just in this case no one will allow the clinical trial to go further. Or if speaking about a different way, for instance, I mean in a good way, without any fail of the experiment, if we talk about chemical drug, which is injected chemical drugs, not the tablets. Only literature observation can be used, and some, of course, CMC part for the registration. So in this case, clinical trials can be skipped and go towards the registration straightforward. But if it is a drug going via the digesting system, it should be done at least in clinical in healthy volunteers. I hope I did the answer, because I didn't really understand the main question.
Okay, thank you. Hope so. Okay, guys, just a few questions now. Who is ready?